The smell of pipe tobacco hangs in the air. A lute can be heard in the corner of the room. The bar's full tonight. You look around and you see all walks of life. The barman walks up, throws his drinks on the table and says, "Drink up and enjoy." You look around and you see someone that's sticking out like a sore thumb. A tiefling, dressed in fine clothes. He stares at you from across the room. A drunk dwarf walks up and trips, spilling his drink on the tiefling. The tiefling looks at him in disgust and backhands him. "What's the name of the dwarf over there?" Hello again, Dungeoneers. It's me, Peter, and this is D&D with me. I've been a DM for about 4 years now, and I've probably used this too much, and we're going to stop using this in the next video, I promise. If you've been following along with my videos, I hope you're enjoying them. Please like, share, favorite, subscribe, send into the astral plane so someone can pick it up. That was so cheesy. Now, breathing life into your campaign is more than just creating an interesting story and location. You need to have interesting characters that your players can meet along the way. NPCs, or non-player characters, help create a living and breathing world, even when your players are no longer in that location. Because you don't want to visit a town when the tavern owner that you had in this town is exactly the same as the other town that they were just in. You need to create interesting NPCs to have your players interested in the town or the area that they're going to be in. Let's go over some tips right now to create some memorable and interesting NPCs, and also addressing any NPCs that they're going to run into or ask you about randomly, and that's going to confuse you because it's going to make you angry too at the same time. Building out story characters. Generally, I like to have at least one-page document in regards to just a story character. It could be a villain, could be a mayor of a town, a king. So you're going to want to have specifics, obviously. You're going to want to have race. You're going to want to have gender. If they have a gender, you're going to want to have a brief description. What do they look like? What don't they look like? Are they a ghost? Are they just a breathless voice in the wind? I don't know. You can be like me, though, and indulge in the description and learn about the childhood scar that they got on their left knee that the players are never going to see unless they somehow seduce them. Bards, I'm looking at you. Everyone's got a motivation in life. You know, me, it's work, create these videos, edit them, hope I'm doing it on time. Your NPCs need motivations as well. Why is that tavern owner running the bar? Is his daughter sick? Is his wife sick? Is anyone sick? Wear a mask, people. Believable NPCs are not just there to do everything your players need them to do. You want to make your players believe that these people exist in a realm outside of just where they are in the current space. When the players are out doing their adventures, these characters should also be developing. And when they go back into town, the NPCs should be a little more different and at least have some new updates in their life that if the players ask. None of my players ever ask, though. You're only going to want to be doing this for bigger characters in your story. For instance, I only have it for the big bad, one of the bigger tavern owners that became a mayor in my campaign, the king, and a few others that I'm not going to divulge now because that's going to give a spoiler out to any of my players that are watching. You're not going to want to do this for the blacksmith that they might visit once. It's good to have a list of motivations, which we'll get into a little bit later. For villains, you're going to have to put a little more thought into their backstory. I hope that you haven't just made a villain that is the typical curly mustached villain tying the damsel in distress to the railroad and your party's there to go save them. Put a little more thought into what your villain is. I like to think that sometimes villains are just selfish and they're looking after number one. Dungeon Masters, come a little close, okay? You're going to get that question. And I know you're going to know what I'm going to say right now. What's that guy's name over there? When you get that question, this is what you can do. Just do what I do. Use your friends' names. Like, don't do that. I have a cheat sheet made with NPC names based on race and gender. Where do I get those names? From a fantasy name generator. I'm not going to sit here and create a bunch of random names. There's a generator online that you can go and add a little adjustments to each name. So your players have taken an interest in this random character that you've just named. Now, let's go to the motivations cheat sheet that you've created and break it out in regards to good, neutral, and evil. Don't go into the subsets of like lawful good, chaotic neutral, etc., etc. Just have a general broad idea of motivations. It's going to sound like a pain in the ass to get this all ready beforehand, but honestly, it's going to save you a ton of time at the table, and you're going to look like you know what you're doing. Because let's be honest, all of us DMs are just flying by the seat of our pants. I'm just kidding, Matthew Mercer. He's a god. And don't be surprised if your players actually end up falling in love with this character. I created an orc on a whim who was supposed to be inside a prison cell with a few other of my players, and they ended up freeing him, speaking orcish to him, starting a prison riot, and then bringing him back to the main town so he can start living his life out. And now it is pouring rain outside, so we'll get this done real quick. If you feel comfortable with actually doing voices, please go ahead and actually do this. I know some people don't like doing this at the table, but I find my characters get a little more interested when, you know, you do the typical Scottish for the dwarf, or you do something gruff for an orc. That was a terrible impression of an orc, by the way. Orcs aren't even real, so you don't even know what they sound like. Me, I just like doing voices, and I like to work on doing those voices, and I like adding them into my games. But I will say, if you're going to do a voice for a character, at least give it a name, like gruff Scottish voice, so you know to come back and talk to him like this. Because if the character started off with a gruff Scottish voice and they're going to come back and talk Irish, I don't know, I'm so sorry to all the Irish people out here. Your players are going to notice and they're going to say something. Well, maybe they will if they're doing good note taking. Alright, Dungeoneers, that was a very quick video going over NPCs. Just remember, flush out a character's backstory if they're going to be a part of the campaign a lot. Have a list of NPC names and motivations whenever you get that dreaded "who's that person over there" question. And if you want, make some notes and spice up your characters by adding some voices to them. Once again, if you're enjoying these videos, please check out my other ones. Like, favorite, subscribe, share. Send it to share. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at DNDwithme. I do post some content every now and then, and we're building a character every time I remember to send out that Instagram story. I'm so sorry with that, I just don't get it sometimes, I forget. Anyways, out.